So I want to show people that this is another developing point in the ever-long investigation of what actually happened in Pennsylvania the day that the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Because it seems like they've been covering a lot of the information right away. There was stuff that people were leaking out, but now we're finally getting more details open up to the general public on what exactly happened, how this 20 something year old kid was able to climb onto the roof and attempt assassination on the former president. And no one seems to be, no news organization, no mainstream media source is really hammering on about this. They're trying to blame this on Trump as some sort of political victory, all in the fact that, oh, some radical kid was trying to assassinate the former president because of Trump's words. It's just the stupid propaganda that they were using to try to cover this up. But here, as Colin Rugg points out, it says just in, new body cam footage shows the moment Thomas Crooks pointed the gun at a police officer who confronted him on the roof. Now, this is something that was said about earlier in the first investigation, that an officer witnessed him climbing onto the roof. And one of the things that I pointed out was, if there was an officer there present, seeing this kid climbing the roof with a rifle, why didn't that officer respond? Where was backup? Where was the officer going on his radio saying, hey, we got a 614 or a kid with a rifle. We need backup. We need something done about this. Why didn't he take out his taser and stop this kid? There's a lot of questions to this. Like, so much so that the only logical conclusion I've ever had about this was a setup. This is a setup from the get-go, that this kid was a patsy the same way that Lee Harvey Oswald was a patsy for the CIA. That's the only logical conclusion I can get out of this. If they can prove me otherwise, I need a lot more detail to get out of that, my conclusion on that. So then it says the officer could be seen falling from the roof before running to grab his rifle. The audio is cut off at 1:48 in the footage. The officer confronted Crooks just seconds before he opened fire. Butler police say the officer fell off the roof because he was unable to hold himself up and draw his gun at the same time. So I'm guessing this is supposed to fit the narrative that the fact that the Secret Service were not on that roof because it was slanted. And that was just kind of stupid on the fact that Secret Service was on the other roofs. They were on the other side of the other buildings next to Donald Trump there. You saw him in the scope of the rifle. They didn't do anything. And the fact that there were snipers inside the building who saw the kid going around to the opposite side of the building to climb on top of the building, that they never did anything. So again, how people can be it had to be a setup. There's no way that people can be that indecisive and have this happen to them. There's no way. So here's the body cam footage here. Let me put it in full screen here of this kid supposedly gaining access to the top of that building where he opened fire on the assassination attempt, and the officer is right there. The officer's right there. They can easily see him with a rifle, and they don't do anything. But watch the footage. So there's police. Oh, look at that. He's helping him up. He's doing the fireman lift up. Oh. Oh, and he falls down. So, or maybe that was the officer. I think that was another officer trying to climb onto the building. And then, but it doesn't even look like he got onto the building. So it literally looks like he jumped up, saw the kid, and then jumped back down. Like, it didn't even look like he was like on there struggling. By the assumption of what Colin Rugg said, it doesn't even make sense in the fact that he was struggling on the roof and that's why he got down. Like none of this makes sense. So let me play this again. We'll do full out, no stopping. So maybe that's got to be the other officer there. Yeah. So he's helping him up onto the roof. He gets on there. He climbs up. He gets back. Like he's not even on there for a second. I'm very confused with this. And there he is running around, running away from the supposed shooter. And there's crowds of people, the crowds of people that are pointing at this kid, saying, "Hey, there's a shooter on the roof." People in the crowd easily saw this kid, easily saw what was going to happen, but the cops didn't do anything. Oh, now they get the rifle. And now he's getting to the back of his squad car. Okay, like there's no way people can be this incompetent. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now the audio's going. Okay. Okay.
This close, bro. Dude, he turned around on me. He's straight up. We have two civilians attending to. I don't know. What's the eyes on him?
So now they don't even know where this kid is now. The guy's saying, "Who has eyes on him?" So again, if the public's able to point this out right immediately and tell law enforcement there that, hey, there's an active shooter on the roof and pointing directly at him, why aren't the officers looking for this kid? There's so much to this that it almost exacerbates me. It almost hurts my skull on how people could just think this is just a lack of incompetency, how this is just, you know, a failure beyond the. No. Something had to be up. There had to be some sort of talk in between. There's no way that a random kid from this town who apparently was a loner, like it just fits the perfect example of a patsy. Like he was a loner in school. He was kind of a social outcast, got swooped up in the propaganda, voted, donated to progressive causes, and then all of a sudden became a Republican. Like there's no way. There's no way that this was able to just occur on the whims of this random 20-year-old. There's no way.
Jackie, he was right where you picked me up, bro. He was on that left side.
So why didn't you? So why didn't you stop him? You just said where he was. Why didn't you stop him? Oh dear God. Okay. Whew. Okay, so it looks like now they're getting the snipers out of the building to realize that the guy is on top of them.
Yo, Blasco. Yo, you about to hop up. He's laying down. He's on RX. Net is building over. Right out to the gap.
And I don't know if people noticed too, there was a water tower nearby. Which another thing to point out, and people have shared this on social media. They showed a map of the actual layout of where Donald Trump was doing his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. There was a nearby water tower that was higher up, had a higher altitude than the other two buildings. And another thing, I'm not in law enforcement, I'm not in security, I don't know, I'm just spewing out what I feel. But don't you think that if you're trying to secure all areas surrounding, that you would go to the highest altitude, which would be the water tower? Like, that would be my assumption, is you would have at least one or two snipers on top of that water tower so that you can have eyes on all the other surrounding buildings. That would be my assumption. But what am I to know? What am I to know? These are apparently the, proficient officers that just had a failure happen. Just a whoopsie daisy. And that's why head of security, Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, who used to work at Pepsi, had to resign because of how just a failure it was. And it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't the fact that, we've known for a while that the intelligence agencies, Secret Service wanted to, silence out the Trump motion. It was just a failure, according to them.
He's got glasses, long hair. Get a ladder.
Oh my God.
Yo, Mike. I climbed the wall and I put my hand right in front of him, bro. He's got a boot bag. He's got mag. AR laying down. Yeah.
So there's like 10 of them standing around there. Get on the roof then. Someone get on the roof.
Come right down on you over there.
Holy crap. This is honestly painful to watch. And as someone that has used to watch, Cops, the TV show Cops in reruns, and have seen what law enforcement can do to people with, possession of marijuana, for example, for them to crack down on that and then for them to not do this, like I said, I'm just baffled. This is like ultimate cringeworthy. And the fact that literally you have 10 guys standing on the loading bay of this building. The guy is on top of the building. They could have easily climbed up, and none of them do it. None of them. Oh my God.
This building. He was on top of this building. The left one. I jumped up. Yellow crate. This is a very serious. The first one. That one. Laying down. There's a gap in between you and there.
So another thing to point out is while this is going on, where are the law enforcement officers, police, whoever, security, to tell the crowd that, hey, there's a security threat and to evacuate people? Where are those people while this is going on? There's an active shooter. You're trying to track him down, and it's going to be a threat to the general public. Where are people? Where's the evacuation plan? Again, there's no way you can get me to believe that this was just a lack of competency on their behalf. That I'm supposed to be apologetic to them. I should feel sorry for the officers that tried to stop this. No way. There is absolutely no way. It's not like the cops you see on TV, that's for sure, folks. Okay, so there's like 6 of them trying to hoist each other up on the. So how is this kid able to get on? Someone said there was a ladder. Again, I'm just.
You got me up once, bro. Yo, Tess, you got me up once. Give me up again. Ready? Yep. Ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So that this just leaves me with more questions. This just leaves me with more questions. And like, you know, not to be that kind of person, but I am that kind of person, to link this to the JFK assassination. This feels like this is going to be another unsolved mystery that's just going to plague us. And we're just never going to get a full official answer. We're never going to get an investigation because there's going to be so many cover ups. There's going to be so many attempts to try to cover this story as much as possible. Like, I'm sure with this, they're going to try and cover up and say, well, they responded, they, radioed, and there was a guy with a rifle, so technically they did something. And like I said, I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not a professional in security, and I can't speak on behalf of that. But just from an average stance, from just common sense, there's so many things, so many faults that just I cannot make myself believe that this is just incompetency. There's so many flaws that like the fact that these are the top trained officials supposed to protect the former president and they were just able to let this happen. There's so many things. But of course, no one's really mentioning about this. Nothing's being said about this. They're already trying to move on from this. They're already trying to cover this up and move on about the fact that, oh, well, yeah, Trump had an assassination attempt. Let's move on from that. Let's talk about how great it is that Kamala Harris, is picking Tim Walz as VP, or is it Waltz? No, it's not. It's not with a team. It's Waltz, right? I don't even know. But that's just cringeworthy. That's just ultimately cringeworthy to just sit there to see this, the body cam footage and all the footage that is contained right now, and just think about how the fact that these people are getting paid top dollar and they have the obligation to protect the highest people, and this is how they respond. And like I said, if you've ever watched Cops, you know how police respond to the most, the most little crimes. It is like comparing apples and oranges. It amazes me how crazy it is that there was no initial higher response to this when they knew it was coming, which makes me believe, put that tinfoil hat on me, makes me believe this had to be some sort of setup. There had to be some sort of intel to know that this 20-year-old, maybe he was part of it, maybe he got cultivated in with, MK Ultra and CIA. I don't know. But there had to be some sort of acknowledgement to know this was happening. He knew who he was targeting. He knew how to get onto that building. They saw him multiple times, didn't stop him, and they wanted to play out. And if Trump didn't look to that beautiful screen over there, he would not be able to do this. Which is also, honest to God, my favorite part about it. Like, if it wasn't for a screen, a chart about immigration, God bless PowerPoint for saving lives. Let's say that. Let's end with that. Thank God for a PowerPoint presentation on immigration to save lives. Oh my God.